Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Arch Masters. We are finishing up a very fun course, a 4-day flagship course here in Fresno, California. And I'm excited to introduce a new friend to the fam. Danny Yao is one of the founders and creators of Digital Arches, and he's here today to discuss an exciting new product that I think is a welcome addition to the digital full arch environment. So welcome to Full Arch Masters, your first course.
Yeah, dude.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, where this all comes from, and tell us what the product is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly an honor to be here. I've been following you for close to 4 years now.
Yeah, why you follow me?
I came from, I've been in the implant industry for quite a long time. I worked for Straumann, Dentsply, even Dentium. And most recently I worked for Index and Sequence, which is obviously a stackable guide company in the full arch world.
Right, I'm very familiar.
Yeah, and I was looking ahead, when I was working there, and we were looking at photogrammetry and kind of determining how long our jobs would still be viable in the long term.
I'm sorry.
And I started, I got onto your Facebook group and I started to kind of learn a lot about what you were doing at the time. And one of the residents that I was working with at UCLA while I was at Straumann, his name is Dr. Russell Crockett. He actually had, when he was in his residency, he had actually basically duplicated stackable guide systems within his residency. So he was a guy that just knew how to do things.
Intrinsically had a knowledge of that.
And so I was like, hey man, I've been doing some research on this Facebook group called, Full Arch Masters, and I heard about like this photogrammetry thing. Right. And he's like, oh yeah, I kind of learned about photogrammetry too, but I was actually looking at this like scan body verification jig concept that I want to develop and maybe write an article about. I was like, you're actually not going to write an article about that. You're going to be actually working with me soon, and we're going to try to develop this idea. We're going to make a business out of it.
Okay.
And that's kind of how we started. We started the day before the pandemic shut the entire country down.
Okay.
We kind of just hunkered down and started doing cases and just kept iterating it until we kind of made it what it is today, something that we felt is worthy of the fam community and worthy of bringing here to you guys.
Great. Well, y'all, as you know, and anybody who's watching will probably know that Full Arch Masters is predicated on the idea of using digital technology to accelerate and improve outcomes for patient care in the full arch implant market. So photogrammetry has been a mainstay of how I provide really high quality, reliable results. And I've come across, a handful of people who are trying to kind of circumvent that strategy. And I've always kind of been hesitant and resistant to welcome them into the milieu, so to speak. But when I saw what you were doing and then talked to you about it, I do have a lot of respect for this workflow. So tell us a little bit about what this is and what makes it special.
Yeah. Very simple way to describe it is it is a scan body and verification jig in one. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the efficiency of a digital workflow and the assurance and security of an analog workflow, of knowing that the physical model of having the option of having a physical model of physical verification jig will give you kind of that assurance of no matter how I put this together in the mouth, I know that it is the correct implant positions. Right. And so I can kind of transfer that, via intraoral scanning. Intraoral scanning, we know, intraorally, it's challenging, mm-hmm. obviously, and that's that's kind of like the holy grail that everybody's been trying to get jumping over, right? And, the blood, the tissue, the saliva, all those things make everything a lot less accurate scanned intraorally. Right. But we've seen the studies scanning things on a desktop, even with an intraoral camera. Right. It is highly accurate, mm-hmm. And probably, clinically irrelevant when it comes to printing immediately to like a temporary prosthesis. Mm-hmm. But we also get to circumvent the inaccuracies of intraoral scanning completely by having a physical verification jig that you could scan, take out of the mouth, and even put into a desktop scanner. Mm-hmm. So now you have that 10 micron accuracy of a desktop scanner on a physical verification jig that's that's luted together in the mouth with acrylic material. Everything's rigid, everything's metal, everything's nice and hard, and will stay this way, through the long term as long as you're.
So you're holding a kind of a put together OPTISPLINT. So tell us what the components of this are.
Yeah, so there's two components of it. There is a scan body and with a lutable wing. And so there's two portions to our scan body. There's one that you scan, which is like the sandblasted part. And there's another part right here that looks more like a Swiss cheese part. There's a vertical one and a horizontal one. And, that's the part that you're going to be able to lute to another piece. And the other piece that we're alluding to is what we call the frame. Dr. Dunlop has lovingly called it a web too.
Like a honeycomb almost.
Yeah. And so, it just gives you the ability to kind of lute everything together in the mouth and we recommend a dual cure and light cure acrylic material, either 3M Filtech or Stellar DC, so you get minimal shrinkage while you're luting it together.
Okay.
But once you lute it together in the mouth, you'll get something that looks like this, which is a jig, which is a perfect kind of representation of the implant positions, both physically and if you scan it digitally as well. We have a free library available on our website at digitalarches.com that you can download for exocad, and that's part of who we are as a company. We wanted to democratize full arch digital workflows as much as possible. We want to be able to put it in the hands of clinicians and labs that want to do it, and not try to force them into one way of doing it, not try to force them into, you can only do it modelless in fully digital, or you can only do it with or without tie bases. We wanted to give everybody as much versatility as possible in whatever they feel is the most accurate and efficient for them.
I mean, that's kind of the backbone of Full Arch Masters as well. So I think that's why you fit in with our community really well. Is my goal in my career is to see no more analog workflows done for full arch dentistry. And if I can play a hand in educating as many dentists and lab technicians on how to get away from the traditional analog workflows, which really don't work. And it's kind of embarrassing that we as dentists are still kind of trapped in this mindset. But it's an exciting new player in the market. How do people learn more about this? How do they get in touch with you? Obviously, they can come to the course here at Full Arch Masters and they're going to see it in action.
Yep.
But if they want more information, how do they get in touch with you?
Best way is on our website. It's digitalarches.com. You can send some an email through the website. We actually try to partner as much as we can with educators like you in order to kind of get the word out.
Right.
We realize that we're just providing a tool, at the end of the day, and we want the experts we don't want to compete with them by training people. We don't necessarily want to do any of that stuff. We want to be able to partner with experts that already know what they're doing,
right.
And do it well. Place like this is where I would really definitely recommend, your FAM flagship course is where I would recommend people learn about how to use this.
Right.
Because they're going to get everything. They're going to get this. They're going to get photogrammetry. And, and they get to make that decision without me just pushing them on this or
right.
the photogrammetry just pushing them on that.
Right.
It's non-biased. It's, hey, these are your options, do it what's best for your office
right.
and do it what's most efficient.
Now, can the OPTISPLINT be used both in an immediate load scenario and a healed case scenario, or is it one or the other?
It can be used in both situations. Okay. Yeah. So for an immediate load situation, there's a number of workflows that you can certainly use. And there's a lot of different ways that people are teaching it. But ultimately, the record is the same. Mm-hmm. You're taking a record of the implant positions in the mouth by luting these things together. Now, how you scan it is going to determine how accurate your digital record is.
Right.
Right? And so it kind of goes from scanning in the mouth is the least accurate,
right.
Scanning with the intraoral camera on the tabletop, and we also have these little nice kind of scanning plates that you can use for to scan with the intraoral scanner to make it easier to scan on a tabletop.
Right.
And most accurate is going to be scanning it on a desktop scanner.
Okay, so the data gets captured in the mouth, kind of using like a luting technique, almost
Correct.
like you would use a verification jig.
Yeah.
Then that either gets scanned in the mouth or removed and scanned outside of the mouth.
Correct.
And then from there, the workflow is to just import that data into your CAD software and then proceed as normal. So it's not a diversion from like the digital workflow that most people use. It's just a kind of a workaround for not having to import photogrammetry data.
Exactly.
So it's not really adding or subtracting steps from the workflow. It's just kind of sidestepping one place to get to the same result.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the final workflow.
Yeah, I was going to say, so tell us about once a case is already healed, you want to just kind of convert it to digital.
Yeah. And so let's say that you didn't do OPTISPLINT or photogrammetry. Let's say you have a converted denture.
Right.
And you're ready for your final. Patient would actually have something like this already in the mouth, let's say. And you would scan the bite as normal in the mouth first. Mm-hmm. And then you would remove this prosthesis and you would put on your OPTISPLINT and you would lute it together in the mouth. And what you would want to do is do the best you can. This scan, what's most important about this scan is to get enough of the OPTISPLINT to align.
Right.
And then what we're also trying to do is capture as much tissue as you can as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then that makes it so your designer, whether they want to do another scan just to capture all the tissue, mm-hmm. They could even scan it with the healing caps or just the MUAs to capture all the tissue that you might miss a little bit with the OPTISPLINT in the mouth like this. Any that you miss, you can capture there, but there'll be enough tissue there, enough tissue here that you can align that tissue together directly to each other. Yeah. Now you have all the tissue. And so it's more of like an alignment scan in the mouth.
Right.
And then
just to orient that tissue scan if you do it.
Yeah, and then you can take this and you could scan it on a desktop scanner.
For high accuracy.
For that high accuracy, that final zirconia.
Okay.
That final zirconia scan that you need for CAD/CAM milling, basically.
Okay.
And then the way that it's aligned from between the OPTISPLINT and your prosthesis and your bite is in the kit, you'll get these little plastic scan caps. And you'll put these into the analog positions of your prosthesis, and you'll scan it in your hand 360 degrees. And when you pull the OPTISPLINT into the library and you align the implant positions, you'll actually get as an analog these scan caps.
Right, it looks just like that now.
Exactly. And so that way you'll just align these together right there on exocad, and you'll have the implant positions right into your prosthesis. Mm-hmm. And that gives your a really short, easy way for your designer to align these things together and really finish that copy mill design.
Okay, so once you do the OPTISPLINT in the mouth, is there any use for this later? Like, do you keep this until the case is done? What else? You told me you can make a model from that and use it to finish your final case later.
Yeah. So one of the things that people, if your philosophy is that you want to continue to use tie bases for mm-hmm. finals or temporaries or whatever, right. It does give you that option to pour a model using analogs.
So you would put traditional analogs into that.
Correct.
Then,
yeah.
And then pour that up in stone.
Exactly.
Okay. So now you have like a base model that you can cement tie bases or a framework on.
Exactly. Yeah, and you don't necessarily need it to. You don't necessarily need like a really nice model. Like right. It could be like just a quick patty model. Like I often did it while I was printing the prosthesis, a temporary prosthesis on the day of surgery, because it would take me I would mix a stone nice and thick, put analogs on this, stick it in there, put it on a paper towel, a little patty,
right.
And then I would have it ready for when it's done printing.
Right.
And I would actually even, because I was proving my thing, I really wanted everything to be perfect and verified and no questions. I would actually use the model to cure my printed prosthesis directly to the MUA.
I can see that.
And then I would even, sometimes I would cement tie bases with the model into my prosthesis.
Yeah, some people want to have tie bases in their temporary for strength.
Yeah.
So that would be a good workflow for that.
Yeah.
Now, does OPTISPLINT, is it allow you to work with a variety of materials for temporaries and finals, or in any way are you limited on what you can apply this to?
Beyond getting the implant positions, it's identical to any other digital workflow.
Okay.
So whatever materials that you would recommend for photogrammetry or anything else, from sprint raison X material, Flexera with Desktop Health, things like that.
Right.
Those are totally perfectly fine with the OPTISPLINT as well. So it really doesn't have, everything's open, you know, like whether our library is open, we have all different kinds of tie bases aligned to our library. We have all different kinds of screws for direct MUA aligned to our library.
Right.
So you can use any kind of option that you want to make your temporaries or your finals.
That's great, man. Well, I hope you guys got some useful information out of this interview. Danny's a great guy. I've known him for a long time, and he's a welcome addition to the fam. And I look forward to inspiring people to use this technology in their offices, and I'll certainly be applying it in mine as well. So thank you so much for coming for the week. We appreciate having you here, and you definitely add another dimension to the already robust education that they get here at the flagship course. I'm
exhausted.
It's a long week. It's amazing we do it every month, right?
I don't know how you do it.
So if you're interested in learning more about OPTISPLINT and how we use it in Full Arch Masters, feel free to reach out to me. You can go on our website at fullarchmasters.com and check out a class schedule. You can always message me on Facebook or on Instagram. I'm pretty easy to find. OPTISPLINT, digital workflow, another tool in the tool belt. I love it. And so welcome to Full Arch Masters, and I'm looking forward to seeing this in action all over the country.
I can't wait.
All right, thanks guys. Have a great day, and make sure to join us at Full Arch Masters.